So if I can remember vividly, in our last conversation, you said in our last video, you said cherubims are not angels, right?
I did.
So what are they then?
The idea that cherubims are angels is coming from the Hebrew traditions.
Okay.
So even in the Hebrew traditions, they had to borrow that idea from another people, which are the Babylonians. And so, but then angels are called malak in the Hebrew language. And so, in the whole of the Bible, there is nowhere that cherubims are called malak. There is nowhere that cherubims are called malak. You understand? So, but then because we don't know what cherubim is, and people needed to offer answers for what they don't know, they borrowed from other places. It's just like even in our normal traditions, if we don't have answers for certain things, we borrow from our neighbors that have answers, or maybe we have a problem we are trying to solve. We have not been able to solve it. We say, oh, this other town, they have solution. Let's go there and bring the solution from them. And that's how people went into the Babylonian or Eastern cultures to borrow those ideas and come into the Hebrew. But there's nowhere in the Bible that a cherub is represented or identified as an angel. This, although it's there in the Hebrew traditions, but then as a Christian, you have to decide with yourself: do you want to know the Hebrew traditions, or do you want to know God by His revelation? And so, when we are preaching God or preaching about the Bible, we need to know if we want to preach the Hebrew traditions, or we want to preach based on revelation that we have of God. So I can tell you true, you can also check, anybody can check. There is nowhere in the Bible that a cherub is also represented with the Hebrew word that is called angel, which is malak. There is nowhere in the
So
Bible.
did you get this out of self-taught, being psychology about the whole thing, or you got it from the revelation of God? Or can you go deep, sir?
Well, nobody that is speaking for God gets anything by their own self. You can read the Bible for thousands of years and still not understand. In fact, there's a place in Timothy also. He says that do not be like some people who read and read and read and never come to the understanding of faith. I can tell you, if you can identify all of these things
That's great.
by reading, atheists would know better than us because they claim to study the Bible more than we do, and yet they don't know any of these things.
Okay. So what are cherubs?
Well, in the way the Bible does not identify cherub itself, the Bible does not give any word or tell us that cherubs are this thing. But then that's why we need God to speak to us about these things. You understand? The way the Bible paints cherubs, the Bible makes us understand what cherubs are. But if we are not actually looking at the Bible, that we are trying to give answers from traditions over, then we don't find it. So I'll give you an example. In the beginning, right? God, when God chased Adam and Eve away, God placed a cherub in Eden. You understand? And then also in the ark of God, when God was talking, God told Moses that he should build the mercy seat and place two cherub opposite of themselves. Are you getting? And also, Ezekiel also saw cherubs in his vision. He saw cherubs. You get? So all of these things make people to uh, assume that cherubs are angels because number one, when man was pursued out of Eden, cherubs was placed, and then in the ark of God, the Bible said that God dwells in between the cherubs. You get, and so because when you people hear God, all they think about is heaven, and anything around God has to be angels or so. You get, but then the Bible is not telling us any of these things because those things are a message unto us. There's no way that anybody saw cherub as an angel. It was just that Moses built cherubs around the throne of God. And so people now assume that it's angels that guard God because they feel like God needs to be guarded or something. You understand? So people assume that angels are guarding God. However, that's not what Moses was saying. That's not what Moses was saying. The whole essence of the ark of God is to show us that the throne of God is moving. That's why, as the children of God were moving, they were moving from one place to the other. The ark of God, they were carrying the ark of God with them because in the past, people used to have a particular mountain where they will leave God, and so everybody will need to go to that mountain to go and serve God. But then there's another people that they were going, their God was going with them. And you get, so even from Egypt, God was going with them as they were going. And that is the whole essence of the ark of God, for people to know that God is going with you. Are you getting? And so the cherub that were placed in the ark beside the throne of God, they are symbolic for something that is happening in our time. Now, if you see in the ark of God, the cherubs were facing each other 1 year and 1 year. So they were opposite of themselves, and God was dwelling within us. It's a message for us to understand that in our time, God will follow us and will dwell within us, and then God will dwell in this person and this person. They will face each other, which is a man and a woman, because you know the way a man thinks is like the opposite of the way a woman thinks. And so God will dwell within a man and a woman, not in the past where God was dwelling in only men alone. It was men that were speaking for God in the past, only men. But now the Bible said that in the last days, I will release my spirit upon them. You understand? And then upon their sons, upon their daughters. You understand? Upon man, upon woman, upon male and female, which is the plan of God from the beginning. You understand that God should be among them. Are you getting me? Even in the whole concept of Jesus Christ coming is that God will be with us. And he said, where two are gathered, God is among them. You understand? So he's just telling you that these cherubs, they are people that worship God, that God will dwell within them. You understand? So none of these things was about angels or no angels. The whole idea. Now I'll go further. When Ezekiel saw a cherub, you understand? The first thing he saw a face of man. He didn't see his face of anything. He didn't see the face of an angel. He saw the face of man. So in Revelation, when you see something in your dream and you see a face, it means an appearance. Because like the face is the first thing you see of a person. And you get, so it's an appearance. Are you getting me? And so the first thing he saw of that cherub is a man. Are you getting me? So cherub do not have appearance of anything. They are men. Are you get? And so after that, he now saw the lion and he saw the eagle and saw the horse. These are also representation of things, because a lion has authority. You understand? And so eagle has strength, and then horse has confidence. You understand? So these are things that will be the character of that man that he saw. You understand? And so there is nowhere in the Bible that you link cherub to angel, but then we know that it's there in the Hebrew traditions. You know, so it's just for us to determine within ourselves, do I want to preach the traditions of men, or do I want to preach by revelation? You guys, so there is really nowhere that cherub, according to what we know in the scriptures, you get, cherubs are people that God will dwell within them. You get, God will dwell within them. So these are just men. There's nothing like angels. And then everything that the Moses saw, Isaiah saw, and all of the people they saw them not for themselves, but for us, because it is now that we will have understanding. It doesn't mean that they understood it, because the Bible said that when Christ came, then he opened their understanding and they saw about Christ from Moses. You know, so everything Moses was doing, everything Moses was saying, the whole lifestyle and everything, it was a message to us. And then we will not get that message until our understanding is opened. You understand? So whether we see a bat or we see this, they are all representation of things we need to know. And so even the cherubs, they were men. You get, and so let me tell you something. Especially that cherubs, when Moses built those cherub, the cherub was supposed to be people that house God. You want people that house God, where the mind of God will, the throne of God will dwell within them. You get, but Moses could not build that mercy seat in those golds, because it was a statue of God. The two cherubs were statues of God. He could not build the street of God in them, so he had to build it between them, so that one here will be here, one will be here. These are opposite natures. These are opposites of themselves. So he could not build inside of themselves. But today we know that the throne of God is in our hearts. The mercy seat that Moses built between those two things is in a man's heart and is in a woman's heart. You get, and that's why the writer of Hebrews said that approach the throne of grace and receive mercy, that you would have grace in the time of need. And it is that throne that Moses built in the ark that is telling you to approach. Are you going to approach? Do you need to go to one church to approach it? Do you need to go to Jerusalem or where, or go to Mecca? No, you don't need to. You need to go inward, because God dwells within you. You understand? And so none of these things are actually telling us of angels. Whether you see a man,
so what you mean is that cherub God placed rather in Eden after Adam and Eve is also human, right? That's what you mean, right?
Yes, the cherub that God placed in Eden after Adam and Eve
Okay.
was a human being.
Okay.
He was not an angel. So I will explain it today.
Okay.
And so when Moses, or I'm not sure it's Moses, but let's just say for the conversation, because we would not want to go into argument of whether or not it was Moses that wrote this book or not. When the writer of Genesis saw that God has pursued man, you understand. First thing you need to understand is that the Garden of Eden was a place for man. It was not a place for angels. It was a place for man.
Okay.
You get. And so when God pursued man because of man's sins, right, and God had to wait to get another man to replace there, because that place was a place for man, right? And so now, but because the person saw it, there was no timing in this thing. So he didn't tell you that it was it just said after. He didn't tell you that immediately after, or maybe as they were coming. No, it just what they saw. You know how you will see a whole thing happen in your, like, 10 years of life, or 100 years of life, 100,000 years of experience. It will flash within your eyes. You understand? So you now need understanding to know, just like the way you remember yesterday. You know, it was 24 hours, but you can remember everything at once. You understand? And so, but then as you pay attention and you calm down, you start to know that, okay, at this particular time, this is what happened, and this is what happened. But if you were to tell somebody about your day, it will just flash in their face at once. It just be as if everything happened. So after Adam and Eve were chased out of Eden, it took time before a cherub was put there. Are you getting? And now, your main question will not be, who was that person? Now, I will tell you one person that was removed from earth. The Bible said Enoch. Enoch was translated from the earth. God took him. God took him. So many people assume that because God took him, Enoch went to heaven. But the writer of John said that no man has seen God. And so that means he did not go to heaven. In fact, the Bible also said that no man has ever ascended to heaven. You understand? So people now said, because no man has ascended to heaven, right? And no man has seen God, that means Enoch died. The Bible said explicitly that Enoch did not die. And so you can't really mix these two up. No man has seen God, no man has gone to heaven. And then this one said, one man has taken from earth. God took him. Where did God take him to? God returned a man to Eden so that a man will be there and take care of the tree. And you get, and so Enoch was translated from this earth and removed from among us, that he should never see death. And God placed him in Eden after Adam and Eve had been chased away. And so none of these things are about angels. Cherubims, anywhere you see a place for man, anything you see there, it has to be a man. Man sinned, and man had to come and die for sins. You understand? So because it was man that sinned.
Okay.
You understand? Anything you see that happened to man, right? It needs to be a man that would go in for there, because angels cannot go into us. See, let me tell you something. People don't understand the kind of authority God gave man. God gave man the authority to preach the gospel. Is there something bigger than that? God handed it to man. Do you think that there's any other thing that God would not need to hand and not give it to angels? No, God would always choose a man for a man's role. God would not give an angel a man's role. And so since Eden was created for man, and it was a place handed to man, if God had to put somebody there, it has to be a man too. And that's why God waited patiently. In fact, the righteousness of Enoch, although it's not like Christ, but at least in the whole of the earth, he was righteous.
That time.
And so God translated him and took it away, that he should not see death. You understand? And placed him in Eden. And so it has always been a man. Anywhere you see anything is a man. So even cherubim, apart from the tradition, traditions can tell you a lot of things. So people say a lot of things. Come to my traditions, we have a lot of things. So even the Hebrews are not different from us. They have a lot of traditions that are not reasonable, but they stay with it. And so these are men.
That's good. Thank you. So you mean cherubims in the ark of God are humans too, right?
Yes, the cherubim in the ark of God, like I just said, there's a man, there's a woman. And you get, so these are people that God will dwell within them, because apart from when Moses went to speak with God, in the ark, you get, and so people did not really know what was happening. Right? It was a message of grace. You will see, after Moses left here, Moses was telling them that telling God that if I have found grace with you, because the mercy seat on that ark, where Moses went to speak with God, was a place for grace. And so he was telling God that if I have found grace with you, And so now today, that mercy seat is where in us. And so for them, it was just standing there because it was just a molding. They molded it with so it was just a representation. So it was just two people standing there. But today we have sons and daughters carrying God within them. So anywhere, cherubims have never been angels. Yeah, it has never been angels. The ark of God is men, God dwells in men. And that's the message from the beginning. And you get me? God will be fluid, follow man, wherever man goes. And that's why you see that Ezekiel was another person that saw this revelation more accurately, because in Ezekiel we see that the wheel was going, and then God, the Spirit of God was going with it. And so we are the people, we are the vehicle that carry God all around. And so we are that man that Ezekiel saw, that God, the Spirit of God was with. You understand? We are the cherubs that God, the Spirit of God are with, and we are the one that move along with God. So wherever we are, God is there because God is with us. You understand? So cherubims, people say, I think that's why people think Satan is an angel, because the Bible called Satan a cherub. You understand? The Bible called him cherub. So people now assume, they mix up things. Angel, cherub, oh, Satan is a cherub. Just draw conclusion from bad premises. You understand? But then if you know in your heart that cherubs are human beings, then you know where you know that this guy is not an angel. You should not fear him. I used to tell people, don't fear Satan. Stand against him. If I see Satan in my dream, I'll slap him. Then get out of fear, because I know that he's not supposed to be feared. The Bible did not want us to fear him. In fact, the very idea that he is an angel is his first deception. It makes people, the Bible says, masquerades. He wants you to think that he's one, and you get it. And so, and that's why you see that he wants you to think these true traditions of men. And so the Bible makes us understand something. We should not go out there teaching traditions of men. We should teach by revelation. You understand? So once you are a preacher or a Christian, you are supposed to move along by revelation. And move along. When you are moving with God, move by revelation. Don't move by traditions of men, because traditions of men, they will weaken out. They will chicken out at one point, because you start to mix a lot of things, and then there'll be confusion. People go around there with so much confusion, they can't even. But then when you move along with God, with revelation, it will be different.
It goes explicit.
Yes, it will. Nothing in the Bible, whatever is not mentioned, you need to calm down. Don't rush into it. Calm down. It was never mentioned that Satan is an angel. It was never mentioned that cherubims are angels. You need to calm down. You need to learn. You need God to speak to you at his time. Don't, because God has not spoken, you find traditions, borrow from here. People go as far as going to the Quran to gain revelation. Let me tell you something. One idea that they said that angel fell from heaven and went to deceive man, and then he was jealous of man, all of these things, is from the Quran. People go as far as there to read and come and teach children of God. Can you imagine? You understand? And so that's that. So you don't need to go far when God has not spoken. Wait with God, and then you will hear, and then you will speak to his people.
That's why you need to stick to God and understand how he moves.
Always.
How he moves.
Always.
That's good. Thank you so much for your time. All right. I really do appreciate it.